for industries that know they are business to consumer, the consumer is most fiscally active during these months. It's like the prime opportunity for a business to consumer type industry. And if you're an artist and you're direct to fan, that's you. So this is the time to be activated, not to be on vacation necessarily.
You are now listening to the Creative Juice podcast, brought to you by Entrepreneur.io.
What is up, Indies? Welcome back to the Creative Juice podcast. This is episode 299. We're past the Black Friday craziness, and we're into the waning final month of 2023. I'm your host, Jack McCarthy. With me, as always, is my co-pilot, Circa. Cirque, what's up, dude? Welcome to December, the last month of the year, my friend.
Welcome. We made it. 2023 in the record books.
We sure did. This has been a wild year with a ton of twists and turns over here for sure. I think this is going to be a fun episode and a discussion that you and I haven't had for a while. And it's going to be about the music industry and what goes on in December, or maybe more aptly said, what doesn't go on in December and during the holidays.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, especially because, this work-wise, this is my favorite time of year where you kind of get to silo off and get some real stuff done.
Yeah, for sure. I really like this time of year as well. Things feel a little more quiet in a good way and not in a we're doing nothing sort of way. The inspiration for this episode and what kind of brought this back to my mind was Ed and I did an episode similar to this either last year or the year before. I mean, we can link to that in the show notes if you guys want to hear our ramblings from previous years. But I got an email over the weekend from a gentleman named Dan Martell. He's a business coach, author of a great book called Buy Back Your Time. And I got an email from him, and the subject line was separation season. And it was all about entrepreneurs that kind of go to sleep during December and then kind of start their work again in mid-January. And it rung true with me because that's largely how the music industry operates as a whole. Is in December, everything sort of shuts down. You're lucky if you even run Black Friday sales, and then everything picks back up, mid to end of January. And while I'm not someone who really ascribes to like hustle porn, I am someone who thinks that smart work is the right thing to be doing. And there's a lot that you can be doing during the holiday season when the music industry is sleeping. But that's not often the narrative that goes on. It's like, if you talk to anybody, it's like, oh yeah, we're thinking about the new year. It's like, how much are you really thinking? So that's what we're here to talk about today.
How much do you think?
Not much. Not much, apparently.
Yeah. Over the last few months, I've really been thinking about this concept. And I talked about it on the podcast before in the context of stock or asset trading, which is that a majority of the marketplace in any domain does not experience outsized returns because by definition, right, they're outsized. So they beat the average, which also means that a large majority of participants, their behavior does not afford them outsized returns. So basically, if you do what everyone else is doing, you will get what everyone else gets. And it's like such a central concept because as someone trying to build something, you are trading your time. You are activated, you're activated in the time market and you're participating in it. And so if you do with your time what everyone else does, you are likely to experience what everyone else gets for their time. And so I think this topic really hits home on that point.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Like, that's true of any kind of market throughout the course of the year. But this holiday sort of season is a good sort of case study on that, where you can really look critically and be like, well, what is and isn't going on during this period of time, and what kind of results are you achieving from it, and is everyone achieving from it? And that's probably where you can derive the answers of what you could be doing differently to get better returns.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I love that. This would probably be a good time for us to just discuss like why things typically slow down in music. And I think like in some ways, like there's corollaries to this in every kind of business. Like, unless you're heavily retail, brick and mortar or e-commerce, where there's tons of sales going on throughout December, things tend to slow down a little bit. I've seen this in so many different kinds of businesses, but I don't think I've ever seen things slow down quite as much as the music world does.
Yeah, well, it just goes back to what we've said on this podcast many times before, which is the music industry fancies itself a business to business only industry. They presume that maybe not no one ever has to talk to consumers and touch business to consumer, but at least you don't have to, right? That's the assumption. And when you're business to business, your prospect, your target customer is a business that's going to be on vacation. The decision makers are going to be with their families on vacation for the holidays. So there's no reason to be active during these times because you can't actually talk to any decision makers. And that's the music industry is delusional in that way where they do really believe that they're all business to business.
Yeah. The tastemakers are asleep, dude. They're so full of turkey and
Yeah.
desserts that they just can't have conversations with you. No, there's definitely, there's truth to that too. Like, it's like the idea becomes the reality a little bit. I mean, we've seen this at the agency for years. Client acquisition during December, usually pretty slow. People are, it usually looks like, okay, like we'll pick this up in a couple weeks in January and start the onboarding process when it comes to like bringing on clients at IndieX, because they're not doing a whole lot in December. Some smart folks that are like, yeah, we'd like to get the ball rolling sooner, but a lot of times it's just a wait and see kind of game. So the idea becomes real because we embrace it, which I think is sort of funny because there is so much you can be doing during this time from a business to consumer B2C side of things.
Yeah, for industries that know they are business to consumer, the consumer is most fiscally active during these months. It's like the prime opportunity for a business to consumer type industry. And if you're an artist and you're direct to fan, that's you. So this is the time to be activated, not to be on vacation necessarily.
For sure. That's not to say you can't take a vacation. Of course you can, but you can do prep work now. We're in the first week of December when this episode is coming out, and there's lots you can be doing that carry you forward through the next 3 weeks and also give you some rest if you need it, that can give you some time for deep work, which is really my favorite part of this season, is when you can unplug a little bit and focus on your business and your vision for what the next quarter, the next 2 quarters, the next year could hold for you. That's really what I love to spend this time doing. And we can talk more about that too. But there's a lot that you can do in this season, and it doesn't have to do just with like releasing holiday music. Like I think that's often the talking point that comes up. I've been seeing chatter in our Indie Pro community about this last couple weeks. Have been like, does anyone do album launches during November, December? What about releasing music that isn't holiday themed? What about releasing music that's holiday themed? And those are all things that, we could talk about here. I think like album launches generally, like I would, if I were to make a blanket suggestion without knowing the context of every artist that might bring that question up to me, I'd be curious of your thoughts on this too, Cirque. I would say and recommend like probably best to not schedule a launch in December.
Yeah.
Or around the holidays, unless you've done a ton of work ahead of it to really get people excited and prepared for it, that the awareness is just like up here and the hype is up here. But in most cases that question is coming up, in my experience, the hype and awareness is not up here. And we're asking the question anyway. So it's like that kind of answers itself.
Yeah. It's not a great season for grabbing attention for something new, but it is a great time to clear out inventory and to do a lot of selling, just not selling around a new narrative necessarily.
Yeah, for sure. Clearance sales during the holidays are so good. So good. I mean, there's simple promotional plays that we often use at the agency, or our clients have done in the past, and we've helped them augment. For example, one of our clients starting this week is doing like a 12 days of Christmas kind of sale. It's not just a sale. It's like a promotional window where they're going to be promoting different pieces of content, different items in their store that they're going to be marking down, time limited offers, and that's all going to be happening in sequence, sort of leading up to Christmas. That's something you could do. You could fit that around any of the December holidays. It doesn't have to be Christmas, but that's just one example. And I've seen a lot of folks do that kind of thing. It works really well. Clearance sales work really well. Another type of offer that one of our clients runs every holiday season, which is really badass, that I'm happy to share here, is a grab bag sort of offer, like a holiday grab bag, where it's just a set of random things from their store. You could pick your size as far as like a shirt, if it's going to include a shirt. But other than that, it's usually like a t-shirt, another piece of merch, maybe a physical music product like a CD or a vinyl or something like that. Grab bag, sell it for $100 or $200 and limit it to a certain quantity. And you've got a cool offer right there. And it's mysterious and cool. And it's something that could be a stocking stuffer or a gift. And that works really, really well for them every year. So these are just some sales offer related things that you could keep in your back pocket, pretty easily deployable too. They're not hard.
Yeah. I would say like the time to be preparing for these kinds of things, like holiday sales, is actually August, September, October.
You mean we're late?
Yeah. We did give you fair warning here on this podcast.
We did, yeah.
But yeah, just like December itself is a great month where the economy of attention is kind of closed for business, right? If you've got a massive discount or a flash sale where there's some urgency and scarcity, like that makes sense. But other than that, like seeking new attention around new narratives is limited. And because there is no fear of missing out on that attention economy, you have a month where you can really build infrastructure. And so it's like, if you haven't had the time to create content, to stack content for frequent content releasing on social, this is now a time to build up your archive. If you've had trouble, writing or anything like that, like now's the time. And then furthermore, like building infrastructure, like building out new email sequences or email infrastructure, building out funnels, like this is the time to do so because you'll be largely uninterrupted with, vies for your attention.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like taking that even a step further, this is a really good time and something that we do with almost all of our clients at IndieX and probably our Indie Founder students as well, I would imagine, is this is a really good time to do retrospectives on your previous quarter and the last year, audit your systems, audit your marketing, audit your audiences once again, and look to see, where are the opportunities going into the new year? What are the things that worked well for you? What are the things that didn't? Speaking of narratives, if you're diving into coming up with email infrastructure or funnels, looking into what are the promotions that we ran in the past year that worked really well for us? Can we repeat them? Can we replicate them? Where do they fit into the calendar for next year? This is a good time to start thinking ahead about promotional efforts that you can be doing and really working to build your business. And the cool thing about this kind of work, I think, is you can, put the lights down, relax a little bit, have a cup of coffee or a hot drink that you like, and sit down with your computer, your laptop, your pen and paper, however you like to work, and really get nerdy with it and get creative and let the deeper business work be fun and undistracted, like you said, Circa.
Yeah. Most people are not going to do that in December, right? Most people are going to take the mulligan. And so if you want outsized returns, you don't do what everyone else is doing, right?
Maybe it's just me. We started to talk about this before we rolled, but I think that like this is the most fun kind of stuff that you can do in your business, regardless of what kind of business you're in. Like, I love this kind of stuff in our business. I love talking to our artist clients about this kind of stuff in their business. This deep work, the uninterrupted, leisurely work, I'll call it. When I find space and time to do that uninterrupted, it's like, it's so easy to get into a flow state and get excited about what you're doing. And, now I'm walking on a line between like woo woo and like tactical real shit that you need to focus on, but I think that this is the stuff that, one, most people aren't going to do, but if they just did, they would separate themselves into a new caliber of business person, creative person. And they would probably find a new kind of love for the stuff that they're doing. I do.
You rarely get opportunities to work where like there aren't a million things very silently nibbling at your attention. And December is definitely one of those opportunities. It's a nice window.
That's true. Especially after like the craziness of Q4 leading into December. It's like death by 1,000 nibbles, There's so much going on that this period of time is really good to kind of get that deep work in. I think it's the best time to do it. If you've got holiday releases going on, that's one more thing to be doing. And if you have that, great. Like, I hope it goes well for you. The kinds of stuff that I would focus on there are like top of funnel and then selling and sales related narratives. Like we already talked about, the different angles that you can use and approaches that you can use for that. But beyond that, it's like, okay, focus on top of funnel and hope that if you're running ads that the costs don't crush you, which they're expensive right now.
Yeah, we actually did a historical study in the group on during a live stream. We did a historical study on CPMs through this season, and generally from early November, like first week in November, until literally December 26th, the day after Christmas, CPMs are elevated, and they almost hit a yearly bottom between December 26th and January 30th. So if you can be ready out the gate with new content, a new funnel, new offers for your fans, like you will get media at the cheapest price in the upcoming. So being prepared for that like month window is super important. And I think nothing speaks to the state of the music industry more hilariously than the fact that you literally cannot contact a manager, record label executive, booking agent during the month of December, like at all. They all have auto response on email, and they're just uncontactable. It just makes it so much easier to outperform them.
Yeah.
It's comically negligent.
It's a very interesting season. And I'm curious of your thoughts on this, Cirque. Like we started to touch on this, that I think this is a phenomenon that goes on in a lot of businesses, but the music industry is one where I see it happen probably to the highest degree, we'll say. It's the sleeping giant, and it just doesn't have to be. It's really interesting. Like, I would love to be a fly on the wall in a management company or at a record label. I mean, I really wouldn't love to be a fly on the wall, honestly. But I would love to be a fly on the wall for the sake of this conversation, to see, like, if you're an artist, right? If my business partners were just not doing anything, like if you stop doing anything starting tomorrow, I'd be like, dude, what are we doing? Like, aren't we doing something? Like, don't we have something to talk about? And when that goes on in the music industry, it kind of blows my mind a little bit, where it's like, okay, like, I get it. People need to rest. You have vacations, you have family, there's holidays. Sure. 100%. Like, I love some time off too, but to do nothing and just shutter everything and be uncontactable, kind of weird, especially when we're talking about partnerships, right? It's really strange to me.
Yeah, it's odd. I'd have to agree. But yeah, just, I think the point of this episode is to say, really look at the upcoming month as an opportunity to stack things that you're going to deploy in the new year.
Yeah, for sure. I think 2 points of reference that I'd like to leave for you guys, and we'll put these in the show notes too. We did an episode recently on auditing your audiences and how to do that. And this is a really good process to dive into during this time, like we said. And like Cirque mentioned, when it comes to stacking content and trying to get a backlog of that going and having the time to do it, we did an episode about content and kickstarting a fan base with content. And that really talked about like a research process, right? This is a really good time to be doing that. What better time to be doing content research than when you're, chilling on your couch, and hanging out? Like, give yourself an hour or two to just spend doing that, and do it in a way that's intentional and uninterrupted. So we'll make sure to link to that too. But yeah, I'm curious, like, apart from those things, Cirque, what other recommendations might you make based on that side of things, on the content side of things?
Oh, I would say like a helpful way to think about it would just be like, how am I going to, whether it's 3 times per week, 4 times per week, or 7 times per week? How are you going to have consistent content throughout the month of January, ideally coupled with some kind of single release, and really hit the ground running? Because not only is this an opportunity to get an archive of content ready for the first month of the new year, it's also an opportunity to get a system in place that makes getting a month of content ready really easy for you. So that in January, you can get February ready, in February, you can get March ready, and you can keep the train rolling all year. This is the perfect opportunity to do that. Ideally, if you've got work commitments outside of your music career, those are tamed during this upcoming season. Family commitments, those probably aren't going to be at the volume. The increase in family time is not going to be proportional to the decrease in work time. You have a little bit of a window or an arbitrage there, and you use it. You use it to figure out how, not only what January is going to look like, but what 2024 is going to look like.
Yeah, for sure. In that same vein, I would say looking at, again, like we talked about, looking at what you've done in the last year as far as sales efforts and promotions have gone, and look at start to build out a promotional calendar cadence that you can follow throughout the year. And those tent poles can match up with your release strategy and the content that you're building beyond January. Start looking at quarterly promotions. And if this is overwhelming, here, I'll give you guys an example. Like usually around the first or second week of January, for a lot of our clients, at least for some of the ones that I'm working with directly at the agency, we're spending time building out sales promotional calendars for each month. And, sometimes we might not have a full picture of what's going to go on for a year, but we can at least make educated guesses and start slotting things in based on what's performed well in the past, based on a rough idea of what release timelines are going to be looking like and tours and things like that. And if you can't get a full year in, work to get a quarter or two. That's a fine starting point. We go over this in the sales promotional training inside of Indie Pro.
How to generate sales year round.
Yeah, how to generate sales year round. Exactly. We talk about building a promotional calendar. And in one of the lessons in there, I specifically speak to this can feel really overwhelming, especially if you're doing it for the first time. Start with a quarter if you can't do 2. Start with 2 if you can't do a year. And then you'll start to get the muscles built up to be doing this ongoing throughout the course of the year. But now is such a good time to do it. And doing it hand in hand with the process that Cirque just talked about when it comes to content and releases is like the best time to do it.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Well, I hope this gives you guys some calm but excited, well thought out, intentional work to be doing during this period of time when it seems like nobody else wants to try, because that's how you can separate yourself from everybody else that's doing nothing during the holiday season. Give yourself rest, give yourself meaningful work to do on your business. You'll set yourself up for a great year.
It's the best way to start the new year.
For sure. And it's a lot of fun. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And I hope you dug this episode. We'll be talking more about going into 2024 in the coming weeks. Super excited. Hope you all had an amazing Black Friday, Cyber Monday sprint. We'll catch you guys next time on Creative Juice.
Peace out, y'all.
Can y'all really feel the East Coast, feel the West Coast, feel me? Say what?